passed my first phase of 140k FTMO. I'm now into the second phase, so I need another 5% to pass that. I have also made just short of £10,000 on personal capital. And for me, personally, the one that created the most emotion was passing on the Falcon Fund. So I got my 40k account, passed my 10k assessment, and over the past couple of weeks, that's kind of what's been going on.
One of the main reasons is the platform or the mindset that you've got. Where does that stem from?
Oh, it's my mum.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. God, she wouldn't stop. If she wanted something, she'd go and get it.
Yeah.
I set up my roofing business years ago for my, well, not for my mum, but like I wanted to make my mum proud.
Yeah.
And then when she passed, like it was like I lost all purpose and everything like that. So did take a dive. You know, it took me a while to build back up and get this fire going again.
Having made under 10k, passing an FTMO 10k account you did quite a while back, getting the Falcon 40k, FTMO 200k phase 1 passed.
I'm putting my success down to Rewired. Absolutely, 100%. That's when everything in my life started to change.
She's actually seen you go from like severely overweight, losing everything, to now like taking control of your life. That must be very, very inspiring.
It's like your physical health. Once that's gone, it's gone. Like once your health's gone, it's gone. Same with the mindset. If you are not sharp and can handle losses and, you know, overcome like your own mental kind of barriers, then you will not succeed in trading.
I don't know if he's going to be happy with me sharing this, but we'll share it. I'll take the risk. You've not heard this. This is today at 11:15 a.m.
I can assure you this, James.
But if you are kind of struggling on what direction to go in right now, the most simplest and best option for you is to get into Rewired.
Welcome everybody to another Falcon FX podcast. This time round, obviously it's not Mark. I'm hosting this in Manchester with James today. James is somebody who I've known for about a couple of years now. James, I think, isn't it?
Just over a year, I'd say, yeah.
Just over a year.
Yeah.
He got me into running in the middle of the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then dipping in the cold water. And then ever since then, the rest is history. But James is joined with us today because he's had tremendous level of success. James, straight into it. What have you achieved in the last couple of weeks? Where have you sort of come from? Starting with your success, of course.
So my success in the last couple of weeks, I have passed my first phase of 140k FTMO. I'm now into the second phase, so I need another 5% to pass that. I have also made just short of £10,000 on personal capital. And for me, personally, the one that created the most emotion was passing on the Falcon Fund.
Yeah.
So I got my 40k account, passed my 10k assessment, hit the 7% target, and in a nutshell, over the past couple of weeks, that's kind of what's been going on.
And how long did that process take you? Because you risked quite a lot less than a lot of people do. It was 0.25% you risked, and you still did all of that. Yes.
So I risked 0.25% over a 2-month period. It wasn't, so we was in Amsterdam. I was having a conversation with you, like, look, I need a plan. I didn't have my account then. I got back to the hotel, paid for the account straight away. So it was like I placed my first trade on the 11th of February, and I placed my last trade on the assessment on the 10th of April. So 2 months.
Wow. 2 months. The crazy thing is, why I asked you that is because you'll see people risking 1.5, 2%, and in that 2 month period, no joke, they would have blown 6, 7, 8 accounts.
Yeah.
You know, so the fact that you've kept your risk low and I think the key trait with yourself is you've just listened and put your head down from day one. And there was a period in your trading as well where it took a little bit of a dip because you had to focus on your fitness business as well, which we'll get into in a second.
Yes.
But they're amazing numbers. I mean, like coming from where you have come from in mentally, physically, business-wise, finance-wise as well, what you've achieved in that short period of time. How does that make you feel mentally?
I mean, don't get me wrong, I am not the finished product by all means. I would say that I am an action taker. So I've no problem placing a trade. I've no problem, as Mark would say, facing humility and being wrong. If I'm wrong, I'd rather make mistakes and learn fast than sit on the sidelines and be hesitant. But by no means am I the finished article. There's so much more work to do psychologically, and technically as well. Like there's guys who I speak to in Falcon who are way more brushed up on technicals than I am. But for me, I think it's just literally about just taking raw action, but not risking half your account to
Yeah.
do so, and letting greed take over.
Yeah.
When I first started trading, I took on the risk management straight away.
Mm.
That was one thing that I didn't want to play with. I knew that there's a fine line between trading and gambling.
Mm.
I didn't want to become a gambler.
Because you've never blown an account, have you?
Never,
That's insane.
never. I've put money into accounts.
Yeah.
I've made a bit of money. I've lost a bit of money. Done the break even dance, this and that, and then it's always got to a point in my life where I've needed the money for something.
Yeah.
So I've took it out. I didn't know what a prop firm was until I joined Falcon. I'd be honest, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
Didn't know you could kind of like leverage yourself like that in the trading world.
Mm.
So, I was putting money in accounts. I would trade. I would make some money. I think I made $7,000. I think I over-risked on this one a little bit, but it was due to a mistake down to getting the lot size correct. But I made like $7,000 once on a 10K account on US 30.
Wow.
Yeah, when I used to use trading 2-on-2 a lot, and then I cashed it out. I needed the money.
Yeah.
And then it was just like trading was over for a bit.
Yeah.
That's kind of been the story since I started.
It's almost as if destiny's led you here, because a lot of people will make that money if they've never made it before. And what do you think they do after it?
It's gone.
It's gone.
Bled back, or it's spent, is it?
Yeah, because they think, well, like if I've done it once, I can do it again and again, but they don't see how they've done it, which is the issue.
Yeah.
So a lot of the reason why I believe a lot of this success has been built, not the only reason, but one of the main reasons is the platform or the mindset that you've got. Where does that stem from?
Oh, it's my mum.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. God, she wouldn't stop if she wanted something, she'd go and get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she would not stop until she got it. Like, she was so stubborn. Yeah, she was tough. She used to be a champion Thai boxer in the late 80s.
When you told me that, I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. She's truly an inspiration. When she passed away, I lost purpose. Very much so like what Stanley was saying. I think he said it on the webinar last night, if I can recall. I set up my roofing business years ago not for my mum, but like I wanted to make my mum proud.
Yeah.
And then when she passed, like it was like I lost all purpose and everything like that. So my mindset did take a dive. It took me a while to build back up and get this fire going again. But at the end of the day, it's never gone away. The flame kind of died down at one point. I did become very volatile. Got kind of like left in the world on my own. Don't speak to my dad much. He's an alcoholic, so he's not really there. Family, very distant, always have been. So, the only people I've got really are Jade and Caitlin. And, Jade does a lot for me in kind of like keeping me sharp. Jade does a lot for me, like to keep me sharp. So, she's going to get spoilt down the line when the money comes with trading, absolutely. Yeah. And so is Caitlin. But yeah, like my mindset is the way it is because of powerful women in my life, to be fair. Yeah, absolutely. My dad's never really kind of shown me how to be a man. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Life's almost taught you how to be a man.
Life has absolutely. So for me, the back injury, losing my mum, that for me it's something that I'm grateful to have experienced. I miss my mum, and that's a beautiful feeling.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful to actually go through that, and the reason I'm grateful for it is because it's made me who I am today.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting that, isn't it? Because there's people that leave us, but they leave us with a purpose. Yeah. We almost feel like if they're gone, there is no purpose left anymore, but they have left by giving us a purpose. Absolutely. Hence why you're talking about your mum today, even though she's not here. And Caitlin as well, so for everyone watching, Caitlin's your daughter, right? Yeah. She's seen you go through that process of, maybe she wasn't consciously aware of it because she was really young then, but she's actually seen you go from like severely overweight, losing everything, to now like taking control of your life. That must be very, very inspiring. Yeah, it is. Caitlin's seen me crying on the floor with my head in my hands. Wow. Caitlin's seen me at rock bottom, suicidal, depressed. Yeah. And, part of me, is kind of, I sympathise with her so much on that because I could have been a lot stronger. Yeah. At the time I wasn't. Life just kind of, it's got its way of bringing you down, I suppose. Yeah.
that's not an excuse, but like a part of me, eats away at myself for that reason. I could have been stronger for Caitlin. Like she was at an age where she didn't kind of know that, her grandma wasn't truly coming back. It didn't actually settle in for her until further down the line.
Yeah.
And we could see, like me and Jade could see it in her. She was having these kind of like getting upset listening to certain musics that would trigger it and stuff like that. But without a doubt, that girl has saved my life.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's saved my life, not just once.
Yeah. But that look at that, right, for a minute. And I think a lot of people watching, because they're going to be parents as well, they're going to be people with children, they don't realise, see, you do, but a lot of people that I speak to, they might have kids, but they don't really have that fuel inside of them, right? They don't sit and think, there's going to come a time where my 3-year-old or my 4-year-old is going to grow older and they're going to see dad or mum actually became a failure because they gave up on their goals. Yeah. They don't envision that. But this is real. Like, if you'd have given up on yourself, think about how old's Caitlin now?
12.
She's conscious. She's fully aware now.
Oh, yeah.
If you gave up on yourself those number of years ago, you let that back injury floor you to the ground, how would she have viewed you as a father now?
Zero respect.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like the saying that people think, oh, no, I'm buried beneath the floor. What if you're planted to grow? And I think you've had that situation multiple times. You've just been planted. That's the way to look at it. And where that's put you in your trading now, from a mental point of view, all those ups and downs that you had given you the traits to know how to value these important things. And that's helped you in the markets. So what did you do with the money that you made?
The money that I made.
Or what do you plan to do with it even?
So I'm awaiting, so I've got the 10K FTMO as well.
Yeah.
I made 16% on that account. I've left 28% to roll over.
Yeah.
And I'm due £1,000 back.
Okay.
I've not got it back yet. Just there's something wrong with my bank account for it to transfer over, but I'm going to get my mum a new urn.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. You said you want something that's going to kind of represent on the desk, so to speak, that's representing like a positive in trading, in making money.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I'm 100% going to get my mum a new urn. She deserves that.
Yeah.
But not only that, I've got something beautiful to look at. Like right now, I'm not happy with the ashes and what they kept in. So
yeah,
I'm going to get a nice like a state steel, maybe like nice fancy urn, sit it somewhere where I can look at it every day.
Lovely.
She's in my kitchen at the minute, looking out the window. But
nice.
I think she needs to come upstairs with me in the office.
Yeah. That's brilliant. That must be an amazing feeling. So, for people watching on the outside, you've got to understand now that these guys or girls watching, either they are completely brand new to trading.
Yeah.
That's one end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Or they've been trading a number of years in debt, having blown account after account. I speak to people like this all the time. And there's people at both ends of the spectrum. We'll start with the newer people, because I want to hit, with this podcast, I want to hit as many people as possible from all different backgrounds, trading experiences. For those of the people watching who are newer, who say coming brand new into trading, what would you simplify for them as simple trading advice?
Simple trading advice
that looking back now has truly helped you catapult.
Oh, it's got to be the mindset. Yeah.
Now you see that, just to cut you there, sorry. When we tell people about mindset, and you'll know this through your coaching business as well, unless they've experienced enough torment and pain to know the value of mindset, they can't comprehend the value of it, can they? Which is so, it's almost irritating, because you're trying to tell someone that, look, your mindset's your asset, right? And if you run with your shoelaces untied, you might get by for about a mile, but you're going to trip up in the end.
Yeah.
But it's the same exact thing with your mindset. You can only go on so long before it catches up to you. So like, what would you say to those people that can't really grasp the importance of mentality and mindset?
Well, you've got to see it like, so I'm a health and fitness coach on the side, right? I look after men, mostly dads. It's it's like your physical health. Once that's gone, it's gone. Like once your health's gone, it's gone. Same with the mindset. If you're not staying sharp as a tack, especially in the most kind of like, the biggest like financial battlegrounds in the world, you're competing with giants. If you are not sharp and can handle losses and, overcome like your own mental kind of barriers, then you will not succeed in trading.
100%.
And you will not, look, my technicals aren't great, but my mindset is getting better. It's not the best. And I'm putting my success down to rewired. Absolutely, 100%. That's when everything in my life started to change. coming up to that meet, I don't know if you could pick up on the energy at the meetup, but inside I was dying.
Yeah.
I'd just gone through a rough patch over Christmas. Funds were low, struggling to pay my rent. I've got 3 months late. My landlord's giving me eviction threats.
Oh my God.
You know what though?
Yeah.
Life's got its way of working itself out so long as you are open to being open to that and learning more. All throughout Christmas, I mean, we borrowed money to pay for Caitlin's Christmas presents.
Wow.
Yeah, me and Jade borrowed money off her sister to pay for Caitlin's Christmas presents, right?
My God.
All over Christmas, I was in Rewired.
Yeah.
I went through the self-image correction process and I took my time with it. Over the 7-day period, I wrote everything down. I'd done the cards. The cards are obviously a 3-month process. They get like sort of interchanged after every month.
Yeah.
I went through the whole thing. I've got my cards with me today, somewhere on me in my pocket.
Yeah.
And I read them 5 times a day as a minimum. And just the power of words that you speak to yourself. Sometimes I read them and I'm not consciously aware that I'm reading them, but it's all about the subconscious.
Yeah.
So for me, anyone who's joined Falcon right now and you don't know what route to take, the technicals are a little bit overwhelming. Some of the terminology you're not understanding, because that's what I didn't understand at the beginning. I didn't know what confluence meant. But if you are kind of struggling on what direction to go in right now, the most simplest and best option for you is to get into Rewired. And trust me, I've got no affiliation other than the fact that, my success is,
You didn't even hesitate. The day, so for obviously you guys won't know this, but we were in the coffee shop. I think it was Cafe Grande it's called, isn't it?
Yeah.
We were talking about it, and I said to you, I'll shoot you a message. And the first day I got him onto Rewired, and James didn't even hesitate. He just got it. And you'd actually done self-development work before that. It's not like it was brand new to you the first time,
Yeah.
But you just got onto it straight away. Didn't think about it. And you just did it. And you see, a lot of you watching will still be like, are you telling me reading cards or doing this kind of stuff is going to make me a successful trader? Correlation and causation are not the same thing, right? If I say, I take a cold shower and I'm going to be a millionaire, that's not true, of course not. But it correlates to it big time. Because, for example, it's a discipline, right? It's a discipline. How you speak to yourself, how you speak to other people is a form of discipline. It's a language. And language is the way we speak, it casts spells.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in that.
Absolutely.
If you say to me, how's your day? And I say, not bad. Or I say, could be better, can't complain, versus I'm amazing. All right, it might not actually be an amazing day, but if I keep telling myself that, you're self-hypnosis. So, and they've scientifically proven this, by the way. If you have 2 traders in the same session, sat down together, and they did this with stock traders and poker players, so it's a real experiment that people can find. What they did was they put 2 traders in the same session together. Exact same system, same method of approach, same time session, everything. But one was in a bad mood, one was in a good mood. Completely different amount of money made. One person lost a lot of money, one person retained and then made a lot more money in the same day. So they scientifically proved and showed that your frame of mind will affect the decisions that you make. How many times can you look back, and even those viewers watching, where you can look back at times you were angry or upset, you said things you didn't mean, that you then regretted afterwards. So then people say, your emotions don't influence your actions. It's a bunch of bullshit. Of course they do. Of course it does. Even if you have that 12-second window from when you're angry to you're calm, it's 12 seconds or 15 seconds, something like that. It takes you to go from angry to calm. If you just wait that 12 seconds, how many mistakes can you save yourself from? Think about all the people, for example, who are in deep financial debt or maybe even in prison for life because they couldn't control an emotion. And people say emotions aren't powerful.
That's absolutely true. And I can say that from experience. I've been on both ends of the spectrum multiple times. Like I've grew up a very aggressive person throughout my life. I've been angry. I've been happy and positive. And obviously the better one is to be more positive. But then it's kind of getting yourself out of that. And the best way for me to do that is to journal. Yeah. Just get all those negative thoughts out. Yeah. Or go for a walk, spend some time in the sun, spend some time away from, what's causing the stress and sit with your thoughts, meditate. Yeah. Meditate's been a game changer. The brainwaves meditation has been, it's like a reset button.
Oh, it's amazing. It's first thing every morning.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's fantastic.
It is if you want an extra 15 minutes in bed as well.
Yeah. But hopefully you don't fall back asleep. That happened to me the first time.
Yeah.
So again, those of you watching, we're trying to explain the context of these things. This is a a segment in Rewired where you do a specific type of meditation first thing in the morning and also before you sleep, a window of opportunity, because your brain is in a certain frequency range when you wake up, like within that first 20 minutes and also last 20 minutes before you go to sleep. You want to capitalize on that. What's the first thing people do in the morning, James?
Phone.
Phone and all sorts of weird stuff that most of you watching you probably understand what we're talking about here, right? Either scroll through social media or whatever, but it's poison for your mind. Absolute poison for your mind. So you imagine you wake up, the average person, right? Average trader watching this. You wake up in the morning, first thing, right? Your head's on its ass, emotions are flatline. You've not had the best week. You've taken a couple of losses, right? You talk negative to yourself all the time. Paint this picture. Now you wake up first thing in the morning and you spent 30 minutes on your phone scrolling through Instagram seeing other people do better than you. Tell me realistically you're going to go to the markets feeling optimized and feeling calm that day. Oh boy, it doesn't matter, does it, psychology? So funny thing you mentioned is that even with your technicals needing work, you've still been able to achieve that amount of money.
Yeah.
Having made under 10k, passing an FTMO 10k account you did quite a while back, getting the Falcon 40k, FTMO 200k phase 1 passed, and now we're working together. There's no way, man, on earth that in the next 90 days or 100 days max, you won't have that 200k achieved and also have made more money.
Without a doubt.
And there's people who've been doing this 5-6 years that can't do that because they're in their own head, still denying that all this stuff is hippy dippy stuff. I don't really believe in it.
Well, that's it. You've just hit the nail on the head with that last word, belief.
Yeah.
Belief is massive. Like, from when I first started trading, like, I first wanted to become a millionaire when I would, when I used to do the fascias and soffits, which was before roofing. This is fascias and soffits, like what the gutters attached to around houses.
Yeah.
I drive through Prestbury, you know where all the footballers live.
Yeah.
And I think, how can I have a house like this one day? Like, you're going to have to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
But can I make that in the trade that I'm in? Possibly, but it's going to come with like huge expansion and, many overheads. It sat with me for years. And then when I first discovered trading, I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
If it's going to be anything, it's this. This is what's going to get me to where I truly want to be, to really enjoy everything life has to offer.
Yeah.
From that point, then, like, the belief has always been there. But don't get me wrong, like, the doubt has been prevalent over the years, like, hugely. Like, when the odds are stacked against you, you can doubt your decisions, but then it comes down to the fact like that core belief will override that doubt, because that belief will spur you into action.
Yeah.
The best way to kill doubt is action.
Yeah.
There's only so many times you can make a mistake and fail until you experience, like, a positive, providing you're educating yourself within the process and kind of refining your approach. But that core belief, like, is what's going to get you to where you need to be. That's going to be the thing that pulls you out of the shit.
Interesting, that, isn't it? Because the first thing that goes through people's minds, going back to what you mentioned there, when they see something they like, is the how.
Yeah.
They don't ask the why first. Why do I want to make that money? Why do I want to make $1 million? Why do I want to make 10 million? Whatever the amount is. But once you've got that locked down, which a lot of people with enough thought can do so, the next question they don't ask, or they do but they don't give it attention, is the how. So when they do ask, okay, how can I do it? They do their own research, whatever, then they give up after about 2 weeks. They're like, there's no actionable plan to do that. But for traders here, like in your case now, you're about 45% roughly away from 1.2 million in the fund.
Yeah.
45% to a lot of people might seem like a lot. But if you turn over 16% in a month, think about a whole year, what you can do. If you're just locked in, if you take out any unnecessary losses, you have 1 or 2 unnecessary losses here and there, you miss less trades, your technicals are sharp, your mindset is where it is. How can you not achieve 1.2 million? That's just on the Falcon fund, by the way. At which point you would have already scaled up your other funds. At which point you would have already made 6 figures worth of profits on your other funds.
Yeah.
On your 200k account, for example, if we just work this out for a second, I've not always been excellent at maths.
Me neither.
But say on your 200k account, as an example in dollars, even if you make that 20% over the year, that's still 40 grand that you've made, right? Do a split of 80%, you've made 32k, probably pounds wise, that's about 27.5k pounds, I think, if I'm correct, on top of everything else that you would have made, on top of your personal account, right? So if you think about it, not only are you 45% away from 1.2 million, but you're 45% away from having made almost 6 figures worth of profits, in which you can then flush into your personal account. And at that point, your personal account is probably sat about 160, 180k, where you don't even need to rely on a prop firm anymore.
Yeah.
So you're 45% away from changing your entire life, let alone what you've already done. So for people watching, all it takes is that ounce of practice, patience. What I always like to say is weaponize patience as best as possible.
Yeah.
People don't instantly in your position, they'll think, right, how can I now scale up as quick as possible?
Yeah.
What I've been saying to you, which you know anyway now, is just lock in, preserve and keep.
Yeah.
Sit on it for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. When you get an impulse to do something, just sit on it. The same thing goes when you want to buy something with the money that you made. People instantly think, what can I go buy? Instead of sitting on it for a minute and thinking, do I actually need that? And the amount of control that you bring into your life by doing that, it's insane. You translate that then into your trading as well at the same point.
Yes.
So going from being then in the business that you're in at that point, how many years ago was that?
The roofing business.
Before that, when you were working in Pressbury?
Oh, wow. That was, so I started doing that job in 2012, so the year my daughter was born.
13 years. Call it under a decade ago.
So I was 21 anyway. I was 21 years old.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
4 years younger than me.
No, I was, sorry. In fact, no, I wasn't. I was 19 years old.
Yeah.
And then I set my own business up when I was 21 years old.
Okay.
And we'd still like, you know, it was like Alderley Edge, Pressbury. We'd still work through those areas within our own business. But I set up with a friend at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just became obsessed with wanting to become a millionaire. I discovered trading in 2019, a year before I broke my back. I actually thought it was a lot earlier than that. I thought it was 2016, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was 2019. I'm rubbish with my dates, if you can't tell.
How quick are those years gone though?
Wow, yeah, insane. You know, I would do a lot of back testing as well.
Yeah.
I would spend hours. I'd spend my whole weekend putting trades into a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Back testing, like there was a cipher patterns and back patterns. That
Oh
was
my
tested.
God.
Yeah.
That's insane.
There
I
was
remember
EMAs, moving averages. There was all of it on the charts. It was a mess.
Yeah.
I come into this strategy now, and there's none of that like distraction and faff and indicators and this and that. So
No.
you know, it's quite
Pure price action. Pure
Yeah.
price action. This is what I was breaking down in the webinar this morning for people, was that how we trade, it's not mathematical, it's not numerical, it's not, we don't even touch fundamental analysis. We obviously pay attention to like high impact news events, but we've never once really cared about those things. Not cared about macroeconomics and numbers and these kind of things that don't really, of course they influence the markets, but we don't want to overcomplicate our trading. Everything in how we trade is visual. We're not limited to 1 or 2 pairs. We're not limited to time sessions. We're not limited by any means. I've taken trades on coffee, I've taken trades on soybean, on euro dollar, Australia 200, all sorts of different instruments and assets, and I can view them all fractally in the same way. But people forget, even I've been trading this one method for like 8 years now. One method. Bro, I'm not even joking. These guys that are teaching people now, they've not, I'm not kidding, not exaggerating when I say this, in a single year they might have changed 3 systems or 4 systems.
Yeah.
And then they'll have a payout on a prop firm for like 10k or 20k, and then they're now all of a sudden qualified to teach. That's like somebody in your line of work in fitness.
Yeah.
Say, for example, they were completely out of shape, but then they used fat burners and steroids, right? And performance enhancers, and they had a good run where they just went on a massive cut. They got a few pictures, and then they got out of shape after that, but they used the same pictures again and again and again.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be criminal. It's the same thing that's happening in trading.
Absolutely.
Same thing, but people fall for the lies of the nice content, exactly like probably you're going to see now. But the difference is we've got infrastructure. You know what we were talking about before with the plan of getting to 1 million. How is that actually going to happen? Now that you've got an actualized plan to get there, traders don't have that, you know. You know, when you look at trading communities, and it doesn't mean they don't even exist anymore, but you look at education, there's not actually good education out there at all anymore. Forget qualified mentors or coaches, but there's not actually proper trading education left.
Yeah.
All it is a few videos and analysis, how to read like order blocks or supply and demand or whatever, ICT, ABC, all that stuff. But there isn't actually structured content out there on things that are important. All right, when you get technically equipped, then what? What about your emotional state? How do you fix that? How do you think like a professional trader? None of that out there as well, because it's apparently hippy dippy stuff.
Yeah.
So that's lacking. What about then capital? Oh, we'll just go for a prop firm. What? That will throw you under the next day because it's not been ran well. So there's no security left. All right, what about even if you get the prop firm back nailed down, you've got the capital secured, but then you don't know what to do with the money. Who do you rely on? A family member. You know, so there's no network and ecosystem. So traders have got everything there. How does it make you feel, especially because you've got kids and many people watching have got kids as well,
Yeah.
that you've got security? How much do you value security now more than you did, say, 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
Massively. I mean, just being on that webinar last night was, and, you know, having to kind of like speak to other people. Some people have met, some people I haven't.
Yeah.
just being in that environment with other traders. Like, the first time I met you, we was in the sauna, right, at David Lodge, yeah? You were the first trader I'd ever seen in physical form. I didn't even know traders existed. The way you, like, you know, I was doing property at the time. I was having a bit of a dabble in deal sourcing because I was trying to find my feet with something. And then you mentioned about trading, and I was like, oh yeah, I've done that before.
Yeah.
And then you started talking about it, and I was listening to you speak. I was like, hang on a minute, this is the first guy I've ever met who's a trader.
Yeah.
And just the way you was talking, like, the trust was already there. It was built straight away.
Yeah.
But going back to your question, like, to be in a community with other traders, like, I didn't even know these things existed. I didn't even know, you know, there was communities with traders, and, you know, I'd seen traders as these elite like people, but, like, you know, we're just everyday like people, aren't we? You know,
Yeah.
Just everyone's, you know, got their own story. Like, it's beautiful to see. I was speaking to Mark last night, actually, and he was just messaging me, you know, and then as I said to him, I said, like, what you've done here, because he doesn't need to do this.
No.
Like, he doesn't need the money.
No.
But obviously, trading is a lonely game. You're at your office. You're in your office space most of the time, and, you know, to have that kind of community where you can celebrate. And he was saying about men celebrating other men's success.
Yeah.
Especially in this country, like, it's such a miserable country to be in sometimes, England.
Yeah.
And people they don't want to see success. They want to see failure. So it kind of justifies their reason for not taking action.
Yeah.
So to have that community of people where, you know, I've had a lot of success lately. It's been posted in, and the amount of, like, people flooding in. I said to Sam, you know, I said to Samuel, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I've never received this amount of, like, praise before, ever. Like,
and genuine praise as well.
Genuine praise. You know, I must have said, like, thank you at the end, but I was like, Jade, look at this. Like, I've never seen this before. Like, it's unbelievable.
Because it's very cynical as well. People in this country are super, super cynical. It's like almost the more north you go. Actually, the more north you go, it gets nicer. The more south you go, it gets more cynical, right? But it's just the culture in this country is like, and I'm assuming a lot of people watching this can relate to that. You know, and you don't get that anywhere else. Speaking on that, let me show you something. So you mentioned Mark. He sent me this today. I don't know if he's going to be happy with me sharing this, but we'll share it. We'll take the risk. You've not heard this. This is today at 11:15 a.m.
I can assure you this. James has exactly what it takes to go to the very fucking top. And I remember when you introduced him to me, when you met him for the first time, you said, this guy, he's just got something about him. He's got the passion, he's got the aggression, but he just listens. And I remember meeting him for the very first time, and I could see it in his eyes. And then the more I learned about his story, the more I learned about his character, what he's gone through, you can see that he's got so much humility. And he's come in with this mindset of, I'm going to put my ego to one side. I'm just going to listen. I'm just going to absorb everything. I'm going to be a sponge. I'm not going to try and think I know everything. I'm just going to go all in, lock in, and now look what he's achieved. You was 100% correct. I'm so grateful to have individuals like this because he's gone through a lot. Most people in his position, what he's gone through in his life, they would crumble. Yeah. He's a true leader of his family. I have so much respect for him, and I can't wait to celebrate more milestones.
He sent me this at 11:15 today. He was like, have a good day, make sure you enjoy it. And he just sent me the voice note, right? Probably won't be sharing with you, I don't know, but how does that make you? You know, before I ask you how it makes you feel, because I've asked you that 6 times, right, throughout this whole podcast, I want to ask you something else after this. The key thing with that is, like, we know what football teams our students support, right?
Yeah.
Out there, a lot of people, when they join trading communities, they're a number on a screen. I was not ranting, but I was talking about this in my story the other day. And I'd come back from the gym, and you know when you sat in your car for ages after the gym, one of them ones.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you know what? My leg was twitching. I was like, it's really bugging me how people out there are not seeing it. And as a coach yourself, you'll know how annoying it can get. People don't understand, like, the work that goes on behind the scenes. And I'm saying this out of, like, being proud, genuinely, right? I'm not complaining about this at all.
Yeah.
But the amount of work that goes in, I've had like 4 calls today, right? I've had so many calls today. Yesterday I had loads of calls. I've done like so many calls this month. But it's not just the calls, it's also what comes after that. It's following up with the students. It's basically a full-time job. I love it.
Yeah.
And you don't expect anything out of that. But the point is, we actually genuinely, deeply care. Like you said, when people are seeing your success, they're actually happy for it. You know, like someone like Mark, and like you said, easily be sitting back chilling, taking all the money out of the business and just living his life, but he doesn't need to.
Yeah.
Does not need to touch it. And in fact, the level of intimacy this guy shows with people's stories and like how well he knows students, sometimes even better than I do, and I speak to them maybe on a weekly basis. I'm like, whoa, how do you know that? You know, so when you look at the world, James, as it is, people working for a CEO who doesn't really care about them, how does it make you feel knowing that Mark's put his position aside, he's not put himself on this high horse, and he's almost like he's level with everyone. You know, it's amazing.
I think it's I'm lost for words, to be honest. That message has really blown me away, and I've always lacked a male kind of role model in my life. My mum was my role model, but the kind of father figure with my dad, you know, that's a story for another day. But to have someone of Mark's kind of like caliber say those words about me is, you know, I'm feeling very emotional right now, to be fair.
Yeah.
You know, truly grateful to have someone like that see the belief in me as well. Throughout my life as a child, you know, my dad would always be very cynical and pick things up and play me down all the time. Jade has been a witness to this for many times before. So I've always kind of looked for a role model in other males. Some of the times I did that, they were the wrong males to look at, and it kind of led me down the wrong path. But you know, just to have Mark say that is I'm speechless. But you know, Mark, thanks. Yeah, you know, I can't wait to chat with you at the conference again and
That's gonna be sick.
Shake hands and yeah, I'm just honestly thanks.
You know what's funny? 2019 August. I remember the date. And not on this phone because it's new, but my old phone. I've still got it screenshotted. The first day, Mark rang me, and he's probably getting gassed listening to this, thinking we're talking about Brad Pitt or someone. But don't get gassed, right? But anyway, I screenshotted the first day he rang me. It was my brother's wedding period at that time, and I messaged him on Instagram. I was a student at that time, right? I go, look, I'm going through X, Y, and Z. I don't know how to manage it. My problem was I always knew how to manage things, but I always needed the extra confirmation, right? And like you said, if your father was a cynic, in your case, and many people can probably relate to that, you spend your life trying to prove yourself to the world.
Yeah.
You go out there because you want that confirmation that we never probably got as kids growing up.
Yeah. And
that's different for everybody. But it's the first time, I think, when I spoke to him, he goes, look, like, you've got potential, right? He gave me similar advice. This is more of like, he's praising you here, right? Rightfully so. But he gave me advice and he was like, look, you need to get it out of your head. Fix this, and this, and just do it. And I was sat back thinking for a second, hold on a minute. I never even thought he would message back, let alone give me a ring, right? Let alone give me a ring and talk to me, and then we became friends ever since. But there's been so many instances where we've had conversations and brainstorms where, like, that same feeling that you're feeling now, I felt, and I know exactly what it feels like, because it gives you belief, right? Of course, we should have self-belief, but it's always nice to know that someone you trust, someone that you look up to, has said, you know what, you've actually got what it takes. And they're not just saying it in passing. They're not just saying it because it sounds nice. I think because they actually mean it because they know you. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Big difference, man.
Yeah.
So, no, it's good stuff. But James, been a pleasure to talk to you.
Absolutely.
We'll get to know more about your story with due time. Follow up in a few months, see where you're at.
Yeah.
Obviously, going to be in a much better position, right? We know that for a fact.
It's already happened.
And any final words for the viewers? Anything you want to leave them with?
Yeah, so if you are kind of lost with your trading right now, I would heavily I'd look at investing into Rewired. I'd have a good long think about that and make it work for yourself. Get more involved with the community. That's been one of my goals this year since doing so. And, you know, stepping outside my comfort zone has helped absolutely build my confidence up within the community and grow as an individual outside of it as well. But I think the bottom line is just invest. The more you invest into yourself, and it might seem a lot of constant, you know, outgoings until you see a result, it's only a matter of time until you do see a result, because hard work on yourself can never be denied. Hard work on something that you're passionate about, trading, it will never be denied. You will see a result one day. You just got to be consistent and just get through those rough patches.
100%. Really well said. Really, really well said. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
More to where more where this came from, definitely. We will see you guys soon. Thank you all for watching, and we'll speak soon.
Let's go.